Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to City Hall. It's a pleasure and honor to have our former colleague and Brian Lees. This is Kay Simpson here from the Springfield Museums, and the floor is yours. You're going to make a presentation of congratulations regarding some efforts that the museums have been doing. Am I correct?
Yes. Thank you so much.
Well, welcome again.
Well, I just wanted to say that I am just so grateful to be here to speak to you about what is happening at the Springfield Museums, including the Dr. Seuss license plate program, which I will get to in a minute. But you all got a copy of the handout so you can follow along. And we were originally thinking that we were going to do this as a PowerPoint. We do PowerPoints at the museums all the time, of course. But we were a little unsure about the technology. Sometimes when we're on site, we have full control, but we just didn't know if it would be compatible with the equipment that you have here at City Hall. So we're doing this sort of in an old-fashioned way. You're going to be looking at these posters, which have the images, which, of course, as I said, are in your handout as well. And what I will be talking to you about today is really about the economic impact and our service to Springfield. Just to update you, a lot of things have changed since the pandemic, and we're really coming back. Visitors are coming back to the museums. So it's a very exciting time for us. We can start out just by looking at the slide that you see on the easel now. And it says 5 + 1 equal the Springfield Museums. And we came up with this tagline a couple of years ago because we were finding that even people that live in Springfield didn't understand why it was called the Springfield Museums, plural. And I think most of you know that we have 5 museums on the quadrangle. We have the George Walter Vincent Smith Museum, the first museum, which was built in Springfield in 1896. Then we have the Springfield Science Museum, 1899. The Michelle and Donald D'Amour Museum of Fine Arts in 1933. Lyman and Mary Wood Museum of Springfield History in 2009, and then, of course, the Amazing World of Dr. Seuss opening in 2017. So that's museums being established over more than a century. So our museums are quite historic. Now, you might be wondering, what is the plus? +1 is actually the Dr. Seuss Memorial Sculpture Garden, which we like to think of as an outdoor museum. That opened in 2002. So, people that work in museums, wherever the museum is, they like to think of themselves as being unique. But at the Springfield Museums, we actually are unique because we have 5 museums, and it's just so rare to have a complex of 2 art museums, a history museum, a science museum, and a Dr. Seuss museum located so close to one another. It's really quite exceptional. So we just like to really emphasize that because it's something that I think that a city the size of Springfield can be very, very proud of. Now, something you might not know is that we have 2 off-site properties. So at this point, we can change the slide. We have the childhood home of Theodore Seuss Geisel, AKA Dr. Seuss. We acquired the house in 2015. It was purchased for us with funds from the Dr. Seuss Foundation. And we have completely restored and renovated this house. We have done that. We have secured funds, again, from the Dr. Seuss Foundation to do this very complex restoration. And we also got some money from the state to make it accessible with an accessible ramp. Now, it's being used right now for research on literacy, by professors from an area college, but the future direction of the Dr. Seuss House in Forest Park is really to be an innovation center for artists and illustrators and other creatives. We also own a property on Chestnut Street, which is right next to the quadrangle. It's 9197 Chestnut Street. So it was originally for storefronts. When we purchased it in 2018, you might remember it was being used for two businesses. One was a liquor store, and then there was a convenience store there. And it was, the neighbors felt like it was really detrimental to people that were living there, were residents, but also it was really detrimental for the museums. So again, we purchased it in 2018, and there was the pandemic, of course. So with funds primarily from a very generous donor, it is the stepdaughter of Dr. Seuss, Lee Gray Diamond. It ended up costing a lot more than we thought it would because the pandemic, construction costs escalated, but now it is just beautifully renovated. It looks great outside and inside. Her vision is that it will be a bakery and cafe. You might remember that there was actually a Seuss bakery that Ted Geisel's grandparents ran in downtown Springfield. So there is that historical reference. So any questions about our offsite properties before I move on? We'd love to do that. We're hoping that it's going to be very soon. I mean, if we're fortunate and it all works out, maybe by the summer. Yeah, exactly. We can sort of push Dr. Seuss out onto Chestnut Street and really expand our footprint that way. So going on to major attractions, people always ask about that. And there's been a lot of activity at the museums to update some of our major exhibits. And I'll start out with the Science Museum because that's a fan favorite with visitors, primarily children and families, but really everybody. In the Science Museum, one of the most popular attractions is the Live Animal Center. And this showcases ecosystems from the New England coastline to the rainforest of South America. Now, we received money through a federal earmark to update the tanks and really improve that area. We're going to add some new animals, so if any of you have ever wanted to see tarantulas, soon you will be able to do that. We also have snakes and turtles and fish and poison dart frogs. So again, a lot to see in the Live Animal Center. On the second floor of the museum, opening in 2019, and this is really a result of our relationship with the Smithsonian. We have a Smithsonian Spark Lab drop-in invention space. And there we have STEM educators. All the hours that we're open to the public, they're doing drop-in activities, and it's a very, very active space. And I think you all know that we are a Smithsonian affiliate. We also have an in-depth partnership with the Smithsonian, which is funded through the Mass Mutual Foundation. And that is a partnership that has now been in place for more than 6 years. We also have a planetarium with a full dome projection system. We just opened the renovated planetarium with this new projection system last April. It is phenomenal. And we are able to not only do STEM-based astronomy programs, but we can do music and light shows. So you might have seen in the news that this past weekend, we actually debuted our new Taylor Swift show. It's a light and music show. So we're doing Swiftie Saturdays at the Springfield Museums, and starting this past weekend, but going on through June. just an enormous amount of media attention. We were in the Boston Globe, so that's very exciting, and we'll be doing more of that. At the Wood Museum of Springfield History, I think you know that we have exhibits that really tell the story of how industry really built the city of Springfield. We have displays of Rolls-Royce automobiles, Indian motorcycles, Milton Bradley games, and much more. So major attractions continued. We have the Amazing World of Dr. Seuss Museum. I think everyone has seen that. The incredible interactive exhibits on the first floor that bring the books of Dr. Seuss to life. We have the family collections. We're so proud to have these displays of furniture and original artwork and memorabilia given to us by the family of Dr. Seuss. In the D'Amour Museum of Fine Arts, we have incredible collections of European and American art and a developing collection of works by artists of color. And that will continue to grow as we acquire works every year. We have the George Walter Vincent Smith Museum, as I said earlier, the first museum in Springfield, an extraordinary collection which is very broad and diverse with Islamic textiles and Chinese cloisonne and a really incredible plaster cast collection. And then, of course, the Dr. Seuss Memorial Sculpture Garden with bronze statues larger than life with the characters of Dr. Seuss totally encompassed. And those works were created by, again, one of the relatives of Dr. Seuss, the other stepdaughter, Lark Ray Diamond Cates.
Can I ask you if the Dr. Seuss Museum obviously is huge, but when the people go to the Dr. Seuss Museum, do they then go to other museums or the exhibits on the
That's
property?
exactly what happens. People, when we opened the Dr. Seuss Museum, which you will remember in 2017, we had people come to the museums who had never, ever been to the museums before, nor had they been in Springfield. And once they were on the quadrangle, they saw that we had the Dr. Seuss Museum, and then they, were introduced to the other museums on the quadrangle and said, just never knew this was in downtown Springfield. So we see Dr. Seuss as a gateway to the other museums. As I said, we're coming out of the pandemic. I think we can go to the next slide. And what this all adds up to is a lot of visitation to the museums on the quadrangle. We estimate that close to 400,000 people come to the museums every year. And that's when you count up ticketed admission. We have outdoor activities on the quadrangle, so you don't even have to buy an admission ticket to participate. We have evening events, we have classes, we have school groups coming through. The museums are always activated. And I just wanted to also say, we always want to be relevant. And so it's not just our permanent displays. We have more than 20 changing exhibitions that rotate through our museums every year. We have school vacation week activities in December, February, and April, 6 weeks of family programs during July and August. And then we have major signature events. Some of you have gone to them, like the lighting of the quadrangle and the Dr. Seuss birthday party, and lectures and classes and bus trips and much more. So if you really want, okay. So you can go to our website at springfieldmuseums.org if you want to see a complete list of our programs. So I also wanted to talk a little bit about stewardship of our historic buildings, and that would be the next slide. And this is important just to know. We take very seriously our role as stewards of our historic buildings. And, I just wanted to mention that studies have demonstrated that historic buildings have tourism appeal. And, our museums at the Quadrangle have been called the crown jewel of Springfield. And so we have undergone a more than 9-year campaign to restore our buildings, and we've invested more than $10 million of work on these important landmarks. And that money primarily comes from outside sources. You know, we get grants from, you know, national agencies like the Institute of Museum and Library Services, a National Endowment for the Arts, National Endowment for the Humanities, private foundations, private donors, and we've also received money from the Community Preservation Act. And that money is so important to us because usually funders don't want to be the only funder. They want to see that you are matching the funding that you're getting from them with money from other sources. So these capital improvements are just critically important to us. And I also wanted to say it creates jobs for construction firms and restoration specialists and tradespeople. So this is really an important part of our economic impact. In terms of service to students in Springfield, our role as being providers of educational programs to students is critical to our mission. Over the past 2 years, close to 7,000 students have participated in curriculum-based programs at our museums. And I want to say, too, that those programs are free of charge, but also we have applied for funding for the transportation. So Mass Mutual has helped to fund those transportation costs, as has Smith & Wesson and other agencies. And for ticketed admissions, last year we had close to 40,000 Springfield residents coming to the museum during open hours to see our exhibits. And that represents every zip code in Springfield. So we are well utilized by the residents of Springfield. And finally, I just wanted to talk about economic impact, because there is an Americans for the Arts economic impact calculator, and since 2017, the Springfield Museums, this is remarkable, have had a $132 million impact on the local economy. So as I said, we're open all the time. We always have activities, even when we're closed to the public. We're doing docent classes, we're doing school programs. You know, when people come to the museums, especially during the summer, during the height of the tourism season, they're eating downtown in restaurants, and they're staying in local hotels. So that's very important for economic vitality. And the area around the quadrangle is always bustling with activity. So the final slide is really about media attention, and we talked about that. We just achieved the milestone with our Dr. Seuss license plate. We had to get 750 people to sign up for the plates to go into production. We did it. This is just a major moment for us. It really did take 5 years for that to happen because, of course, the pandemic was a factor. But we got media attention from everywhere, from the eastern part of the state, Boston Globe, and then it got picked up by USA Today and Associated Press, so it was everywhere. And once these license plates are on cars, this is like a little mini billboard. So if you're driving anywhere in Massachusetts, you'll see this adorable license plate, and you'll see SeussInSpringfield.org, and you'll know that there's a Dr. Seuss Museum in Springfield. You could be anywhere in the country and see this. So I think it's great promotion for the city of Springfield.
Councilor Govan.
Thank you so much for that. I kind of knew all of this except for the ballot numbers because so many people talk about the Springfield museums all over the place. And I'm really excited that you guys are continuing to do all that work. Something that I think I'd like to bring up, there's a campaign for arts on prescription, which is ties mental health.
Yes.
And, you know, people, some doctors and, oh, sorry. Sorry, I got to speak into the mic. I apologize. Thank you. Thank you. So I guess I can't wait for the doctors and the clinicians to start prescribing people to go to the museums and have Mass Health or the insurance companies pay for it, because that's what it's leading in that direction. So I'm excited to see that happen. And I just want to thank you for the great work that you guys are doing. Keep doing it, and if anything that we can do to support, please let us know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Walsh.
Through the chair, I'd just like to say, Kay, thank you for that very impressive presentation. We are so lucky to have you leading this effort, and the museums here. I'm so impressed with your statistics about how many people from Springfield have actually visited, and the funding that you have received. And I think you're right that a lot of people don't realize how much we have to offer. So keep up your good work.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Councilor Delgado.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was listening online, so I apologize. It came a little late, but I was listening. I just want to say, echo my colleagues' comments. Thank you for the work that you guys are doing. I think the museums are a hidden gem. I know my family, we take advantage of getting there, and I know that my daughter's going to be even more excited to do the Taylor Swift Saturday thing that I saw that you guys were pushing. So we're super excited for all the work you're doing, and I really appreciate the updates on the Seuss House in particular, and the Seuss Bakery, because I was wondering what was going on with that. I know that's been in your hands for a while, so really appreciate that update as well. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
We are joined by Councilor Allen. Would you like to make a comment? Have you been like to speak?
Would I like to make a comment?
Yes.
Hi, everybody. Glad to see you all. That's about all I got right now.
Well, let's ask Tim, how many times have you been to the museum?
And we're joined by Councilor Bruce as well.
I thought it was the library. It's not the library.
No, it's the museum.
Well, the museums are awesome. Thank you all. We appreciate it. They're awesome.
Thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. And congratulations on everything you're doing. Very proud of what you're accomplishing.
Thank you.